Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Jessica, and today we're going to be reading ghost stories from Mexico. These stories have been passed down for generations, and whether they're true or not, I like reading them sometimes because they kind of give you a good spook, and it's interesting to see what type of stories people either have actually experienced or, made up just to scare their children to behave in the grocery store. Let's just get right into it. Has anyone seen a 9-foot tall shadow with a trench coat and a tall hat? Last year I moved up to the city with my mom to take care of my grandma. She had a stroke and a heart attack, and she didn't want to spend her last days in a nursing home. Anyways, I was working at a grow during the time, and this place was haunted. I could just feel it. I would also see things move in the corner of my eyes, and I was convinced there was some type of poltergeist at the place because things would just fall when they had been in the same spot for hours, or stuff would shift. Well, one day we were trimming and someone was talking, so I turned to look at them. And in the corner of the room there was an extremely tall shadow person, like 8 to 9 feet tall. I couldn't see its face, but just an outline of it, and it was extremely dark. It looked like it was wearing a long coat and a tall hat. I looked at it for a minute too. It let me stare at it. It knew I saw it and it saw me. It totally freaked me out. So I turned back to continue trimming, pretending like nothing happened. And when I did, my scissors that were sitting blade down in a cup 1/3 full of alcohol spun full circle in the cup. I looked up to see if anyone noticed, but nobody did, and I don't think they saw the shadow person either. So I just prayed over myself and everyone else on the property and continued my job. Then about a week later, my grandma passed away, so I don't know if it was death or something I manifested or attracted for wallowing in grief. Have you ever seen anything like this? I haven't seen it since, but I don't think I'll ever forget it. Anyone in the room alone right now, like me? I don't know what I'm about to read right now, but anyways, I saw him as a kid. I couldn't sleep one night, and my bedroom looked down our dark hallway into our living room. Long story short, he staggered from my living room, disappeared into the dark hallway, which freaked me out as a kid, so I shut my eyes. The next thing I know, that of my bed is sinking in, and I opened my eyes to see him sitting on it. I never ran out of my room so fast in my life. Wow, this just gave me a massive chill because the thing that haunted my old apartment in Texas, we nicknamed Top Hat Man. And the only time you saw him is when you would just briefly look in the mirror that faced the stairs and he would be on the stairs. My mom died in that apartment a little over a year after we moved in, saying she thought she was being watched all the time and refused to go upstairs, not even to shower unless it was daylight and someone else was home. We rarely told anyone the place was haunted, and then they would see him and refuse to come back. Finally, I got our old landlord to admit the last 3 tenants before us broke their leases to the place due to it being haunted. We had to stay there 4 more years until we were able to leave. I don't blame those people for breaking their leases. We cleansed the place as best we could, more scared that my poor mom was stuck there more than anything else. We gave the mirror to a person who accepted it of their own free will, so we hope he didn't follow, but I still get nightmares sometimes. Edit. Knowing now this is a demon scares me even fucking more because my childhood home, the one we lived in before the apartment, was haunted/possessed by a demon. And in the last year, I've started having very horrible dreams of both of being woken up with 3 scratches on my arms, and my sister's moods are now being affected like they were before. We knew this farmhouse was haunted, but goddamn, if it followed us again, I literally don't know what to do. This person says the demon has been following them all their life because of a curse their mom had put on her. I'll read this story, but I'm not sure if it'll be scary or good. As a young kid living in a small town in Mexico, I heard many tales and stories about ghosts, spirits, witches, and even the devil. I never believed in that stuff back then. Now that I am older and reflect on some of the things that I experienced, I am positive that evil does exist. When I was young, I lived in the small town of Porulo. The town is located in the state of Guanajuato. The town has now become more modern with paved roads and cars, but when I lived there, everything was much simpler. The interesting thing about this town is that it is located between tall hills. During the summer, when the vegetation grew at its fullest, the hills would turn into dense forests. The vegetation was so dense that only the most experienced hunters would out in groups and try to catch animals. I always wanted to go into the forest with the others. I wanted to learn how to shoot and hunt too. I would always bother my older cousin, Jose, who was one of the guys who went out regularly and spent days tracking animals and hunting them. Finally, one day my cousin agreed to take me with him and his friends. I knew most of the other guys and was ecstatic about finally going hunting. There were a total of 7 guys going, including myself. Jose told me that I had to listen to him no matter what. He told me that it could get dangerous and he had to take care of me. Me, being super excited, agreed to whatever he said without giving it any thought. We were leaving the next evening. I was so excited that I barely slept that night. The next day, Jose helped me pack all the essentials into a backpack that he had. He headed to the edge of the town where the forest began. Most of the guys were already there waiting. Everyone had their rifles and were fully prepped. The weather was not really cooperating. The sun was nowhere to be found as it was covered by dense rain clouds. I wasn't worried though. We all had rain gear on and were ready to go. As the last guy joined us, we all started moving into the forest. As we walked further, it began to drizzle. The raindrops could be heard hitting the leaves on the shrubs around us. Everyone was quiet. The only other sound that could be heard was the wet ground that we stepped on. We walked for what seemed like an eternity. We followed a path that had been made by others walking through it, but the further we went, the narrower the path got. By this time, 4 of the guys had caught some animals. A few rabbits and squirrels were their catch. The 4 guys had turned around and walked back to town. They were happy with their kills and wanted to get out of the rain. This meant that there was only one other guy, my cousin and I. Jose and the other guy were super competitive and didn't want to stop going forward yet, so we continued. The little daylight that could be seen before was now gone. It was pitch dark. Not even the moon could shine through the clouds at this point. The only lights that we had were reflectors, flashlights that we wore on our heads. The battery pack was strapped to the belt around our waist. At this point, I was starting to get a little freaked out. The rain was now coming down harder and the path was very narrow. Jose walked in front of me with his rifle over his shoulder and the machete in his hand. He would use it to cut through any bush that was in the way. Behind me was the other guy. He carried his rifle in his hands and he kept swiveling his head left and right while scanning for animals. After a while, the rain slowed down to drizzle again. Everything became even quieter. It was an eerie silence. There was no wind, no crickets, no birds, nothing. Jose, I called out, I want to go back. Something didn't feel right. It felt like the temperature had dropped. Every time I took a breath, I could see it in the beam of my flashlight. We can't go back yet. Someone asked me to bring them back a rabbit, Jose answered. At that point, I understood that they didn't do this for fun. They did it as a job. People from the town would ask them to go hunt them a rabbit or a squirrel to make food with. I didn't ask again and kept walking. While walking in complete silence, we heard a noise. It sounded like a twig breaking. Everyone turned towards the noise. Jose put down his machete and grabbed his rifle. The guy behind me did the same. We stood there frozen, waiting for an animal to come into the light of our flashlights. I was excited to finally catch something and go home. As we scanned around, we heard another noise. It was not ordinary to hear this in the middle of the forest. We started to hear what sounded like a baby whining and crying. I was surprised to hear it, but I wasn't scared. I didn't know what to think. I looked over at my cousin, hoping to get some instructions on what to do. He was frozen in place with his eyes wide. He looked at the other guy. He had the same expression. As he stared back, "Es una pinche bruja con un niño, güey." The other guy whispered to Jose. He was implying that we were hearing a witch and a baby that she had taken. I immediately started to panic. As I looked up at them, I heard the baby's cry change. The high-pitched cry turned into a deeper voice. I can still hear it in my head as clearly as I heard it then. I was paralyzed with fear. I started shivering uncontrollably. I fully expected to see some demonic figure staring back at me. Before I could say anything, Jose grabbed me by the waist and pulled me over his shoulder. The other guy grabbed the machete and started running back through the path. I could tell that they were both just as scared as I was as I bounced up and down on Jose's shoulder. I looked behind us. I scanned the path for what now sounded like growling that continued to follow us. My cousin kept telling me to close my eyes, but I didn't listen. I kept looking back. Both of the guys were now running as fast as they could, jumping over small logs on the way down. Jose was falling behind because of the extra weight that I added. He came up to another log on the path. He did his best to jump over it, but clipped his back foot on it. He tried his hardest to keep his balance as he stumbled. In doing so, he accidentally pulled the cord out of my battery. The flashlight on my head immediately turned off as I looked back. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw something on the path. I was not able to see the details very well, but I could see what it looked like: a deformed dog. The skin was pale. This was the only reason why I was able to see it in the dark. I knew it wasn't a dog though. There was no fur, only skin. The only other thing I could compare it to is a very skinny, elongated human. "Jose, I see it!" I yelled as I reached down to reconnect my flashlight. Jose didn't say anything. He just kept running. I finally managed to feel around and reconnect the flashlight. The beam of light flooded the path behind us. As the light hit the thing that was following us, I saw how bony and pale it was. It ran hunched forward but on two legs. There was black hair on the top of its head that covered the face. I didn't know it then, but I now remember seeing the thing having sagging breasts, like an old woman. As I continued to look at it, I started to cry because of the fear. I knew the thing was going to catch up to us and kill us. As I cried on Jose's shoulder, I heard a loud gunshot. It was the guy that was with us. He had made it far enough down the path that he was able to turn around and aim at the thing that was chasing us. As the shot rang through the trees, I heard the scream of a woman. I immediately looked back at the path. I saw the thing stop and hunch over in pain. We all looked as it continued to scream. The scream sounded like a combination of pigs wailing and a woman screaming. Jose put me on the ground and grabbed his rifle from his shoulder. He lifted the rifle and aimed at the screaming witch. Before he was able to get a shot off, the witch jumped off the trail and into thick bushes. The screaming continued, but it got farther and farther away. Jose immediately grabbed me again as they both ran down the path. I buried my head in my hands in fear of seeing that thing again. After running for what seemed like forever, we arrived at the edge of the town. Jose put me down as he struggled to catch his breath. "No le digas a nadie. Don't tell anyone," he said. The other guy began walking back towards where he lived. I kept my word to my cousin and did not tell anyone, not even my family. I feel like there is a bond between me and my cousin because of the night. He and the guys continued to go hunting after that. I never asked to go out on another trip again. About a month later, I heard a story about some guy from the town over who almost got killed while hunting. He had separated himself from the group and was lost. The rest of the group started looking for him. He was found passed out on the ground with a bunch of black hair clenched in his fists. He had really deep scratches all over his face and arms. The story goes that he caught the wounded witch by the hair, but she was able to get away by attacking him. We're gonna see some ghosts on camera. Not seeing anything yet. Oh, the cape. The cape is moving. The cape is moving.
Oh shit, oh hell to the no. Hell no. Did you just oh shit, no, hell no.
He is me. He is doing the right thing.
Okay, but guys, that shit right there just moved. Just, oh, fuck that. Oh. Hey!
Now he is the responsible one.
Okay. That just moved. Like that just moved. Like that just moved. I'm not gonna break it.
Oh, the dog.
That right there just
I missed it.
I'm not.
I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I know I did, especially the end. I think the next one is going to be like a reaction video to these ghosts caught on cameras, because I find those really interesting, really cool to see like in person instead of just reading about them. If you guys have any ghost story, comment down below. I might even put them in the next video if you guys would like that. But personally, I wouldn't mess with like Ouija boards and like try to contact them myself. Maybe in the future I might visit a haunted house, because why not? You know, why not go to a haunted house? Leave a like, comment, and turn on my post notifications, but most importantly, subscribe so you can be part of my journey and my family. Peace out. Hey,